Hello students, today we are here to discuss one of the most famous poems of 20th century titled Musee De Beaux by W.H. Auden. As you all know, Auden is very famous for a lot of his poems and especially for The Unknown Citizen, which depicts how a bureaucratic society treats or it speaks about how a bureaucratic society treats individuals today with reference to documents and not as something or someone who has a life of his own, feelings of his own and such things. But today we are not discussing that poem, we are discussing his other poem Musee De Beaux, which speaks about how indifferent society is towards individuals, suffering of an individual, okay, and also how human beings do not bother at all for the sufferings of another creature, a pain of another creature, not just animals but also human beings. The poem begins with Auden saying that, or the speaker in the poem saying that, the old masters were very clear about and they were never wrong about how indifferent the world is towards the suffering of a fellow human being. Many times we say that human beings are kind-hearted, we are better than animals, we care for others, we worry about others, we want to share the sufferings of others, but in reality, how many of us care for the pains of a beggar who asks us for alms in the street when we are waiting for a bus? Okay, or do we really care for someone dying in some accidents in our roads, or when we hear about some great disaster happening somewhere in Japan or America or somewhere? Okay, even if it is happening somewhere in our neighborhoods, we just acknowledge the fact that something has happened, someone has died, some accident has happened, but really we do not care for what is the pain of that person at all. So Auden begins the poem with saying that the old masters were never wrong about how the world is indifferent towards the suffering of a fellow human being. Here the word old masters specifically refers to the painters of the old painters, or the painters of the Renaissance period, or the later period of painting in all the European culture. And also the title or the reference, the old masters, can also mean any other person who is involved in creative writing or any other kind of arts which depicts the sufferings and the pains and pleasures of another human being. And then Auden goes on to say that these old masters, they knew how we go on with our lives without any worry for the pains of others, how we do not care for others' pains at all. He says that when a few section or a few group of people is waiting for some miraculous things in and around us, something great to happen, for example the birth of Jesus Christ, or the birth of Krishna, or the birth of Prophet Muhammad, okay, when people are waiting for it, there will be some children or some ignorant people who do not bother for such a miraculous thing at all. And then he says that even the old masters, they even knew how a dreadful martyrdom. He says that the poet says that the masters also knew how a dreadful martyrdom must happen in some lonely and dirty corner of the world, surrounded by mundane existence of dogs who go on with their doggy lives, and the horses. The word that he uses here is the torturer's horse, which scratches its innocent behind on the bark of some tree. And here the word dogs which go on with their doggy lives and a torturer's horse which scratches its innocent behind does not really refer to dogs and horses. It refers to human beings, especially the human beings around us, who do not care for another human being suffering, just like some dogs or some horses which go on with their doggy life or animal life without caring for what is happening around it. But the very serious thing here is When we speak about someone becoming martyr, let us take the example of Bhagat Singh. When Bhagat Singh was dying, we say that Bhagat Singh's death is honorable, it is great and all. But still, I don't think any one of us would have dared to look at Bhagat Singh dying or he being hanged. Okay, and also how the people around him at that time, they might be people who are aware about the rise of nationalism at that period, the greatness of independence period at that period. But still, all these people did not. I don't think we would have bothered really or much seriously about the death of Bhagat Singh at that time. And it happened somewhere in the corner of Punjab in some British prison, and the people around them, it might be the jailers, it might be someone witnessing it, or a newspaper writer reporting it. Okay, they went on with their lives just reporting that something had happened, like this had happened. Okay, and the word, coming back to the point, the word dogs and horses here refers to people around some serious event like a martyrdom or something else, suffering or a pain especially, who do not really bother about it. And then in the next part of the poem, Auden refers to the painting of Bruegel, which depicts the fall of Icarus. In Greek mythology, Icarus was a son of Daedalus, who was a great inventor. He was an inventor who could even make some serious things which would have posed a serious problem to the modern technology today. He was imprisoned along with his son in a Greek island for disobeying a queen's order, and this island was uninhabited. And in order to escape from there, what Daedalus does is he collects the fallen feathers of birds in the surrounding beach, and using the wax from the candle, he makes two sets of wings, one for him and the other for his son. And he attaches these wings to their arms, and before starting to fly, that is in order to escape from there, they'll have to fly from this particular island across a sea to another island which is their home. Before starting to fly, he warns, that is Daedalus warns his son Icarus that do not fly near the sun, because as you go nearer the sun, the temperature increases and the wax which is sticking the wings to your hands will start to melt, and all the feathers will fall down, and it will ultimately result in your death. He warns it very clearly. But what really happens is, during the flight, Daedalus and Icarus is very much mesmerized by his ability to fly. A human being flying is not something we see daily, and even today. Human being's ability to fly like a bird is still something like a dream. Okay, so here this young boy Icarus, he was very mesmerized by his ability to fly, and what he does is, ignoring his father's warning, he starts to fly higher and higher. When he flies too near the sun, Icarus' wings starts to fall down, and he plunges into the sea and dies. Auden refers to this painting of Bruegel depicting the tragedy, and shows us how indifferent was everyone to Icarus' fall, and how leisurely they reacted to such a disaster. The plowman or the farmer who heard the splash and the cry didn't care for it, because it was not an important failure. Now coming to this main point, what is an important failure? It is nothing but a personal failure. I fail in some exams, or something serious happens to me, that is an important failure to me. What happens to you, what happens to another human being in and around us, it is not an important failure. Of course it's a failure, but it is not important. And that's why this farmer did not care. And then the son also did not show any special limelight or something like that on this boy who was going down the sea. He just shone on the disappearing white legs in the sea as if it was nothing great at all. And finally, there was also an expensive and delicate ship which witnesses this tragedy, or this amazing sight of a boy falling down from the sky. But even that does not care for it, because it has a destination to reach, and it goes away. So here when he speaks about people reacting for Icarus, disaster, we get two images, a farmer and a delicate ship, or a plowman and a delicate ship. This both represents the rich and the poor section of the society. That is, the plowman represents, or the farmer represents, the poor section, and this expensive and delicate ship represents the rich section of the society. So finally, what Auden tries to tell us is, it is not just the rich people who are indifferent or who have this don't care attitude about the suffering of other people. Even the poor people do not care for others suffering much, because ultimately every one of us is selfish. We just bother about our failures, which he calls as important failures, and nothing else. Okay, so this is what we have to learn from Musée De Beaux, which tells us about the indifference of society to the suffering of another human being. In the next class, I will meet with another poem. Thank you.